Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's us. It's Lorecrimes. Woo!
Immediately
Hello,
would like to
everyone.
call out Donkey Man USA for saying Dark Souls 2 is the best.
I was really
God.
gonna say call him out for
Good
this
man.
this comment down here.
I
Yeah.
gooned to
man.
the Emerald Herald.
Bear
Horrific.
Seek West.
Yeah.
God, the takes are already terrible. Just for a
Yeah.
quick brief heads up, unfortunately Eli is not able to join us today because my man is swole. He's wish him luck,
Hench.
boys, for his bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he can smell water at the moment. He is so dehydrated, but his body is in need of ridiculous amounts of rests. But he will be on next time. Today, though, it's very sad because he probably looks like one of the characters we actually have today.
Pretty much.
So, God, the comments are already just. I'm triggered by the Dark Souls 2. We've got something special today, though, which we have done a part 1 of. So if people want to check out a part 1 for the story, because again, you must follow this all the way through. It's like you're missing out. Like, what are you doing? So we're talking about. Well, I don't want to spoil it. Colin, what are we talking about today?
We're gonna be talking about none other than Gotrek and Felix once more. We
Someone just read that. Sorry, Louis 1945.
Yes,
I would
thank you very
sacrifice my first child for law crimes.
No, not his first.
Thank
his
you.
one child.
His one child. Oh, not even the first.
Even
So
better. The only.
Already exists. It's not an idle threat. Like I might never have a kid. It's like no, I've got one. Yeah. Into the furnace.
Oh my god. That's one way of putting it. Gotrek and Felix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going through two of the stories. Demon Slayer, the next mainline one. Dragon Slayer, the one after that, and then two short stories kind of in between.
Oh, actually, I mean, considering from last time what happened, particularly with the highlights of Thanquol and his very existence.
Well, Hal, I have good news. He's coming back.
Hey.
The first 2 omnibuses, especially, so like the first 6 or so books, have a lot of Thanquol.
Love it. But before we get into that, though, Andy, just a quick little dressing of was it the last week's question? Well, a few weeks ago now, their question of the week.
Yes. So last episode, it wasn't quite last week. It was like a while ago. We did our Halo Spartans episode, and we had the hashtag Power Trip, which was if you could have any suit of power armor in any universe, what would you have and how would you use it? So the first one we've got here, I'm going to mention, is from Rarest Pepe, a regular on the channel. So hashtag prepare yourself. Hashtag Power Trip. I would wear some sort of stealth armor, anything that can go invisible, so I can sneak into Colin's house when he's streaming and make him do the gritty. There you go.
The forced gritty is a new one. That'd be quite interesting.
Is it at like knife point or gunpoint, or is it like
I'm imagining like
marionette,
like a puppet? Yeah.
Donation by Donkey Man USA for the $5. Thank you, brother. He says, "Who's the bigger foot freak? Hidetaki
Tarantino, surely,
or Quentin Tarantino?" I feel
unfortunately, the real answer is Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider likes feet.
The guy who ran Nickelodeon.
Yes.
Oh my god.
He's a pool shaped like a foot.
He looks like someone stepped on his face, to be fair.
Rob Schneider is not Dan Schneider.
Probably Quentin Tarantino, I have to say, because I feel like that dude is just like he presents somewhat normal, but like if someone said like he murdered 3 people next week, like I'm just not shocked.
Wiggle your big toe. But for the next one of Power Trip, we've got one from Nerdcasting 40k who said, "My armor would be the nano suit from Crisis. I scream as loud as I can as I use the abilities of the suit. Maximum armor, maximum strength, maximum speed, cloak engaged, tactical mode, and nano vision activated." I liked Crisis. I only played the first couple, but I did enjoy it.
Play Crisis 3?
I have it, but I've never played it. I'm afraid.
I borrowed Crisis 2 on the PS3 from my mate, and I had no like context about like what game I was playing, but it was alright. It was cool.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it was alright.
And the last one is from our meme lord himself, DJ Beast, saying
hell.
hashtag power trip. I would wear the stealth suit Mark II from Fallout New Vegas because it makes me sneaky and gives me stim packs when I need it. And also, it's a talking lady who doesn't disappear when I take my medicine.
That was the one I was thinking of.
I mean, DJ
thinking,
Beast is our strongest. He's definitely a high priest in the Church of Boingob at this rate. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
But what's the question of the week this week, Hal?
Oh yeah, before that, one more donation. Thank you, Angry Homunculus. He says, for the Demon Slayer section, we loop. I don't even what Grenga by Lisa. Colin, please tell me I'm.
I have a vague idea.
I do
nope. You're a weeb is what you are. That's the Demon Slayer opening.
Oh, okay.
Just call it the Demon Slayer opening. Yeah. Thank you for the £5.
Is this some anime we're not weeb enough to understand?
Yeah, I haven't seen
Demon Slayer is good though.
The opening, I've never seen Demon Slayer, but the opening's fucking heat.
You've not seen Demon Slayer?
I don't see things. I don't watch things. I'm going to see when we're done here. I'm going to a friend to see Starship Troopers for the first time in my life.
Ooh!
Thank you, DJ Beast. It says the Sword Art Online fan calls someone a weeb. Wow!
Never beating the Sword Art allegations.
No.
For next week, this current week's question of the week, just before we get into the juicy lore. Why did I say juicy? God, this is hashtag buddy cop. So basically, we want you to give us a little comment about, you guys basically make a pairing of like anyone from Warhammer 40k, even with Warhammer Fantasy, and just who would be like literally like the funniest thing to like be partnered together. Could be, I don't know, Erebus and the Emperor in one.
Imagine Erebus and Saint Celestine. Like, oh, that would be a awkward journey.
Yeah, just anyone you want to put together. I think maybe Erebus and Malekith might technically be like the worst. Truly tactical nuke from other side of the planet, and it's
Erebus and Manfred.
Oh, Erebus! How did I forget? Erebus and Manfred would. Which one would die first, though?
I think they'd both like take each other out at the same time with a backstab.
A well-timed backstab that they didn't know was coming to like the perfect moment. So hashtag buddy cop. You want to put in the comments? We really appreciate that. Some of these are hilarious. You're actually much funnier than us because we are. Some of us are getting old.
Hey, just calm down.
Let's be honest, we are.
You said some of us, and then you looked dead at me, and I was like, "All right, okay, youngin, still in your 20s."
Bro, I literally, I think I missed the boat on Skibby Toilet. Like, I honestly am just saying it because it's funny.
It's peak.
I don't even donation, by the way. Postal John for 2 CA saying Erebus Manfred, Celestine love triangle.
Yeah.
Kill. Oh God, Mary Celestine.
Yeah.
Kill Erebus and fuck Manfred.
Ooh.
Damn. I mean, I don't disagree, but like it's just the worst case.
It is pretty awful. I don't want whatever chaos Gribbly's sleeping with Erebus is going to give me.
Plus, he's still got like the severed face, so that would be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Manfred would just betray you. Erebus would do something.
Yeah, that's why it's a one-time fling.
Well, well, yeah. I suppose you could always marry Manfred, but then you could just like poison him at the wedding day, like put it in the cake.
Just marry Saint Celestine. I'm sure she's a lovely lady.
But you can marry her maybe afterwards if she's up for it. Remember, consent, fellas.
She's up for it. Putting that to the side. Today is Gotrek and Felix. Again, if people haven't watched part 1, do go ahead because it's some good lore. You'll understand why. But today is literally Colin's due. He's excited to see this. So, Colin, take it away.
Well, I will say, real quick, we got DJ Beast. Thank you for the 2 menacing skip even on Starship Trooper. Correct, I have. Correct. An angry homunculus with the £2. Your disgust of anime only makes me stronger. I like anime. What do you think this is?
I think he was probably talking more about me and possibly Hal, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I don't mind anime. I will. I had a hot take on anime.
I mean, there are three good animes. There's
I would
Punch
say
Man,
most of it is
JoJo, and Bebop, and that's it.
I mean, I have opinions about some of the anime fans, but that's neither here nor there.
I do think most anime is pretty averages.
I mean, that's like, what is that? Is it like Sturgeon's Law? 90% of anything is dog shit.
Yeah, and people don't remember the good stuff.
Yeah, the problem is anime fans look at the latest thing with, oh, you do big boob girl. It good. Okay,
Bro,
thank you, anime fan.
Crazy idea. There's an overpowered character with white hair, and it's never been done before. God, I like the entire thing.
It's been done once well. It's Kakashi.
Yeah, true. Original that OG or like Naruto, when you first learn about that Kakashi has a Sharingan.
Oh, insane reveal, and then
lost my mind. That was on TV. That's how long ago this was. Because I watched it on the actual remote.
I remember Naruto Shippuden when it was on Disney, Disney XD. But away from this, it's Gotrek and Felix time. I will say, going forward, they might be a little bit shorter for each story. Not because there isn't, a bevy of lore, right? They're still all roughly equal length, full page novels. It's just at a certain point, there's only so many ways you could describe, and then Gotrek kills them, right? Like, I'll give the climactic finale, that fight, its justice, but like Gotrek kills the 500th wave of 70 clan rats. He does it before. He's going to do it again. You're not going to believe it. In Age of Sigmar, he's going to keep doing that. There's only so many ways to describe. Yes, the short man kills everyone. So, but it'll be still in depth as the last one. Just might gloss over some of the many murders. But Demon Slayer. With last time, Gotrek and Felix, they'd saved Nuln from Thanquol, the Horned Rat's funniest little guy, and they were on the road to Mindenheim.
Sorry, we have a donation by truly the best name in any account. Just mighty long of sickness. What are some good corn stories for fantasy /AOS? I mean, Colin might have to answer that for corn stories.
I would need to check for AOS. You're gonna hate me because I'm gonna say go reread Gotrek and Felix, the first omnibus, because it has a wonderful corn story of someone like the demon in the lady's head is like, no, we're definitely all about the blood, the war, and murder. But hey, there's some nuance to it. There's thoughts going in her head beyond kill, maim, burn. The actual some character stuff. I mean, surely one of you would probably something World Eaters has to be good. One of them, surely, one of those books is surely good.
Yeah, Betrayer, Horus Heresy, and then 40k stuff is pretty difficult just because the basically they're at the end of the road of corruption, so they're basically the berserker, not the person falling to the berserker.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I did enjoy the story with Azrael, just like a sentient demon just summons Khan to like mess with Azrael and the Dark Angels, and he's just like, well, I guess I'm here now. And then he like butchers the chaos entity that summoned him because he's like, I was busy killing somewhere else, and I'm very angry. And that's where the artwork comes.
It was a good fight.
Yeah, but it's that one where Azrael cuts his face with the sword, and he's like, looks a bit angry. That one's all right.
It's I was going to say whatever I was going to say is gone. Maybe not. I'm not sure if she's actually in a book, but Valkia the Bloody, reading about her is cool. She's Korn's personal Valkyrie in fantasy and AOS. She's a very cool character. Funny trailer for Total Warhammer 3 because half of it was her getting the snot beat out of her. But hers cool. Bunny Cops, it's safe to call Felix a harem protagonist that fails too slow to build the Halem. Thank you for the 5. No, he is not a harem protagonist. Felix is not.
He's married to Gotrek in the truest sense. That's the relationship. Like, it's just like, what's the relationship? It's the person you always pick up the phone for. He's always talking.
Yeah, they might as well be. But what he is right now is on the way to Mindenheim in an inn. And some God bless their souls. Some just random dickheads pick a fight with Gotrek, which goes as well as you would expect for random dickheads picking a fight with Gotrek. Felix barely, I mean barely, keeps him from killing them outright. You know, he limits himself to just breaking their bones. And the last guy, you know, he has some level of narrative intelligence. He's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna stop trying to fight this dwarf. And then he gets decked in the face by a dwarf that just showed up. None other than the best character to ever exist in Warhammer, Snorri Nosebiter. He's here, my beloved.
The Lord and Savior.
Finally here.
Crimson Glory does say for $5 says who was the fancy version of Khan. We hope it be Snorri, but it's not. Alki the Bloody, I think, is probably the equivalent.
Probably Varda. I don't know. Varda Kram is undivided. That's a good question. Asivar Colt. No, he's an Ever Chosen. I would have to think on that. I'm not sure if there's really a 1-to-1 for Karn.
AOS needs to cook a little bit longer, I think, lore-wise.
Yeah.
It needs it'll be there one day, but it just needs to cook.
There's a lot of good stuff now, but it's still cooking. It's only been out 10 years. Donkey
Man USA does say Snorri wants more beer, young
Snorri wants more beer. Oh man. Donkey Man, this is book 3. It's not depression time yet. Fuck off. Snorri. Snorri is an interesting Slayer. He doesn't have a crest like all of them. You know, all Slayers dye their hair, you know, their beard red. They put their hair shaved except for the top, which isn't a mohawk. Snorri's beard is red, but he doesn't have a mohawk. He has 3 nails driven into his brain painted red, and they might not actually be painted red. They might just be rusting, which is ow. He's also being charitable, not a very smart dwarf. He speaks in third person. You know, Donkey Man said that's how he talks. Like, Snorri thinks we should do this. Snorri would like more beer. Snorri wants to kill those orcs.
So he's reverse Yoda.
Yeah. Although he does have some introspective moments in the second of the short stories we'll talk about probably between the 2 main books. There's a bit more going on in Snorri's mind than complete, you know, absence of brain activity. But this is his introduction. You got to lay the groundworks, and immediately what they do is Gotrek and Snorri get into a drinking contest. The moment they meet each other, Gotrek doesn't seem to want to talk to Snorri, but I think Felix even notes he just kind of brusquely talks to him and doesn't assault him, which is how you know Gotrek considers you a friend. He doesn't just
That's a win in my book.
Yeah, he just kind of deals with Snorri instead of beating him. I made you experience the sad and Slayer. That's my bad.
No spoilers, unfortunately, for now.
No spoilers yet. We're quite a ways out from that.
Oh, Caleb Collins says, how well would Felix do in 40k if he somehow became a perpetual? Also, Snorri is best boy. He was born that stupid. The nails only affected memory.
No. There's again no spoilers. We get flashbacks of Snorri before he was a Slayer. Later on, he still talks like that.
I heard as the answer in the Felix question, Felix probably wouldn't do that well because people who are perpetuals, they just need to be smart, not necessarily like charming or kind of brave at certain points. That's how they generally stay under the radar, and most of them are like, spoiler, most of them are dead, so you know, like they ended up in some way just they end up knowing the Emperor, and that's just not worth it.
Felix would probably hitch a ride with Caiaphas Cain. He'd be fellows and wanting to avoid this crap.
More tea, sir, from Jurgen. Jurgen would probably be jealous of the fact that Caiaphas is hanging out with someone. Like a little puppy, he would probably like nudge him ridiculously out.
He'd be fine as long as Felix doesn't try and take his position as aide. Jurgen takes that very seriously.
He's a special smelly boy.
Only Jurgen can properly give the Commissar's tea.
This is the big question here for Colin, though. Is it Cain and Jurgen or Gotrek and Felix?
Gotrek and Felix, without question.
God, it's hard though. I think it's hard just because it's so. They're both really enjoyable.
Oh no, I think there's. If someone said they prefer, Kane, I'm not offended. Kane's great. Just I like my dwarf and his whipping bitch.
I mean, could you imagine the shenanigans if you swapped Felix and Jurgen? So it was Jurgen and Gotrek and Kane and Felix. that would be weird, like a weird multiverse thing.
Gotrek.
So, who's this smelly man with a beard? Said Gotrek. So, I'm not smelly. I've got a flame. Not flame.
He'd probably be happy enough if only because Melta weapons are strong and Gotrek likes killing.
Yeah.
Crimson Glory says avoiding combat disgusting. My man is truly the blood god's strongest ally.
Indeed. But along with good old Snorri, who, just for future reference, another thing him and Gotrek like to get into is headbutting contests. He's a real sharp knife, that guy. There's a second dwarf who is young by dwarf standards, and that I think he was only like 80 or something when he shows up, or maybe like 40. He's not young, but by dwarf standard he is. Named Varric Varrigsson. They were summoned, both of them, to go meet Gotrek. Since Gotrek and Snorri just start pounding back ale immediately, Varric talks to Felix, but is like, we got my uncle, whose name is Boric Forkbeard. That's his name. Leave him be.
Beastman from Sweden gives us 20 SEK. Says Snorri wants a bucket of vodka, young Colin. Thank you, brothers. Truly, we will drink to Snorri tonight.
Indeed. But Boric tells Felix and Gotrek when they're finally done that his uncle Boric, he's summoning them to their isolated little base known as the Lonely Tower, because Boric is trying to get an expedition into the Chaos Wastes going, which, for reference, that holds the same weight as an expedition into the Eye of Terror. So Felix isn't the biggest fan of this, but he's bound by oath to follow Gotrek, and Varric and Snorri managed to convince Gotrek to at least hear him out. So Gotrek agrees, and Felix is forced with him. And on the way, they talk about what the Lonely Tower is. It's an old mine they turned into a little camp, although little camp is certainly one way to put it. We'll talk about that in a bit. They mention how, this surely isn't something coming back up in the narrative, that you had to drive some Skaven out of the place. It was an old mine that had Skaven in it. They had to drive them out. That's purely coincidence. The fact that when they make camp at night, they're attacked by Skaven scouts that Gotrek and Snorri have to fight off. Surely also a coincidence. None of these things could be related. They get to the Lonely Tower, and what the dwarves call a nice isolated little camp, Felix discovers is a massive hub of industry. And this is one of those moments that I find it really cool, because it shows you, like, goddamn, those dwarfs have some stuff. They've got trains, they've got airships, they've got all sorts of stuff. Like stuff that's like the Empire is pretty firmly in like 15th, 16th century technology. Like they got some guns in places like Null and Altdorf. They're like, it's maybe early like 19th, like very beginning 1800s Industrial Revolution. Dwarfs are like early 1900s. Like they can fly, they've got oil, they've got trains and tracks, and
they've got movies.
I don't think they quite have movies yet, but
that'd be great if they did, though.
If they put their minds towards it, they could absolutely make like film reel with their technology.
Every movie is just like, I went to this place on the surface that bought a beer. It was really good. The end. And it's just all beer, just drinking beer.
It's just living their steampunk life.
It's from the Infinite Divine, the 10-year long Necron play.
Oh,
it's like that, but it's just 10 years of straight complaining about how old things are better than new things.
Was it like a decades-long court hearing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, they said like the Necron overseeing was like, "Thank you all for coming together on such short notice. It took like 10 years to get it together."
I love it. So it implies that someone just stand there for like 3 years or something, being like, and then they're just waiting.
I mean, they're robots. They don't gotta they don't gotta do anything. They got nowhere to be.
God.
They can. I mean, hey, they can go into like screensaver mode. But yeah, the Lonely Tower is a massive industrial hub, and even Felix is saying like, this is a. I never really appreciate dwarf technology and how far they are ahead of humanity until I see shit like this. But well, while that's happening, they're they're going to meet Boric, all that stuff. Below the Lonely Tower, good old Thanquol is back. He after he failed to conquer Nuln, he took what was left of his forces and he went to investigate this because he too heard, oh, there was some Skaven, there was some dwarfs that drove us out of these mines. I wonder what's going on here.
Incoming backup, by the way. Speaking of Boingob, if anyone was thinking about it, he says, "I can't wait for Gotrek to meet Boingob in AOS. Will definitely happen for sure. In fact, I think he will be joining the party for sure."
Oh yeah, we can only hope.
It's the team up we deserve. It's a buddy cop. That's
no more Gotrek and Felix. Gotrek and Boingob.
It's actually
heard it here first.
Boingob is actually going to be his mount. He's going to go fight Teclis on it.
I mean, it makes
or even Archaon, the Ever-Chosen, just like, and then he's just there like, come on then. You think hard enough?
Look coherent because Boingob just yells the entire time.
But when Thankful found out, about the Lonely Tower, he's like, oh, that's a lot of good dwarf technology. If I can take this will be his next plan to rise to unlimited power and fame and everything in Skavendom, because he's a very one-track mind, that rat. Good guy. And sure enough, not long after Gotrek and Felix get there, Skaven invade. There's this really, it's just kind of a sad passage. Like, it's like 3 pages. It's like a mini chapter where there's this dwarf who notices all like the gutter runners going in, like all the Skaven forces. And he sits there and for a moment he's like, if I sound the alarm, I'm going to die. Like, they're going to send like poison wind, like they're going to poison him inside his little scout bunker. And then he just blows it. And then like the passage end, like he blows the alarm and the passage end is just the poison starts creeping in. And it's like, well, that's incredibly brutal.
Damn.
Yeah. As for, Gotrek and Felix, though, they start fighting off the Skaven. There's a decent amount of guards, but this is mostly supposed to be a relatively hush-hush engineering outpost. So there's not too many guards. It's mostly the engineers who just pick up their weapons and tools and fight off the rats. Thanquol is we're up to Bone Ripper 2 now. Sends it to kill Felix, which Varric is driving a cart and Felix is hanging in the back of it. And it's a car chase, except the car is Varric and Felix in a cart, and the other car is a rat ogre chasing after them. And they're just tearing through the settlement until Felix, just in a panic, just basically hucks a bomb at him, and the Bone Ripper is roaring, so it swallows it. Then the bomb goes off, and you better believe that you don't want to eat.
R.I.P. already, damn.
Bone Ripper 2 had, I think, even less screen time than Bone Ripper 1 did.
How is it at this point they sure you don't recognize, like, this one looks a little different than the other? To be fair, maybe they kill so many Bone Rippers they actually don't realize that it comes from the same, like, enemy.
It's also part of it is just Skaven are so there is no like standard method of production for a Skaven. Making a rat ogre is equal parts art and science.
God damn, poor Bone Ripper.
They, the dwarfs take a beating, but they fight him off, and Felix is saved from a bunch of gutter runners by the next mainstay of Gotrek and Felix, who also makes an appearance in this book, Malachi McKyson, who was now in Total Warhammer. He's one of his lines.
Fella,
one of his lines is funny in Total Warhammer. Just goes, "By Grugni, it's me," or he's like, This is clearly like, we put him in because you people wouldn't stop asking for it. Piss off.
I don't know why I'm here, but I'm having a laugh. Hooray!
But I don't. Maybe anyone who's also read these books, feel free to agree. But Malachi and Snorri share a similar role, which is when they're in the stories, things aren't as bad as they could be. It's like their presence is like, things could be worse. They're very, especially for dwarfs, they're very cheerful, upbeat people. Snorri's probably the happiest person you've ever seen in a Warhammer book. Just period. I don't think any book I've read, anyone has ever just been as happy-go-lucky as this guy.
More than an Ogren? Or...
Honestly, I would say more than an Ogren.
Fair enough.
He's reading his dialogue. He's just happy to be around.
And that guy, like that one Ogren who counted to 3 once, is just on cloud 9. Oh, Ricky Chapman for $10. He says, "We remember we did Warhammer Isekai TTRPG game for both 40k and fantasy. Discovered horrible ways to die in both. One
of
to
those.
typhus. In brackets, we say more. And a demon prince axe. Good times."
Yeah, you don't want to die to either of those. Probably typhus more so. He smells.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they meet. They've met Malachi. He's also a Slayer, although his oath is not technically different, but he's going it out about a different way. His oath came from the fact he's a radical dwarf engineer, and by radical I mean something will only have been in the blueprint stages for 20 years instead of 2,000 before he makes a prototype of it.
Crazy. Wow.
This is what liberals want for us. It's
these dwarves and their avocado toast.
Yeah. So one of his weapons kind of blew up, and that was a problem. And then he made an ironclad.
Kinda.
Yeah. And then he made an ironclad named the Unsinkable. You're not gonna believe what happened to it.
I feel like a very Titanic moment coming along.
Yeah. And then it sank. So he was made to take the Slayer oath. Except all that did was make him even more reckless with engineering, because he's like, well, I'm sure one of these projects I'm working on is going to kill me. I'm just going to keep working on them, and now I've got a mohawk. So he's a interesting Slayer. He also talks with a Scottish accent. Except
funny cop here says Malachi's very speaking presence in the audiobooks makes things a good time. My God, that accent and dialect.
See, the thing is, can understand him with no problems in the game or an audiobook. Reading his accent, good luck. Because well beyond me sometimes. There were a couple times I just kept going like, I don't know what he said. I'm out.
There's too many commas in this. I don't know what's happening.
We have more. Beastman from Sweden says, in quotes, "He is a genius of killing dwarves."
Yeah, Gotrek had that to say about him.
And Tom Moran, thank you, brother. Good to see you guys. He says, "I'm pretty sure it blew up before it sank."
Semantics.
Look,
if it's blown up, does it really sink?
Look, it sank. It might have also exploded before.
Listen, on paper, it sank. Okay?
It wasn't called the unexplodable. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Everyone has some teething pains, right? Nothing's perfect.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they properly meet with Gotrek, Felix, and Snorri. They properly meet with Boric, Varric, and Malachi to really discuss what's actually happening. And the plan is this time, after driving off the Skaven, is they're going to take the Malachi's newest invention, the Spirit of Grungni airship, which he wanted to name the Unstoppable at first, and everyone told him, "You're not doing that. You're not naming it that." They're taking that, and they're going to go to the Chaos Wastes to find the lost city of Carrig Doom. In Dwarf, that is, it's D-U-M. It's pronounced Doom, and it means Doom. Not my first name.
Not to be confused with Kazakh Doom from Lord of the Rings. It's completely different.
Completely different name. Not even that different of a name. Not where I would choose to live, but it is what it is. And they're looking for two things. They're looking for the Hammer of Fate and the Rune Master's Axe. One of those is a bit more important. The hammer. I'll just spoil it. We'll get to that later, though.
New donation by Gammoth Draws, $10. Says, great luck that I came into the stream when you were talking about Thanquol whilst I was building the new Skaven. Hell yeah. Love the channel. Also, still waiting on the Vlad video, Colleen.
I'll get to it. He's in the eventually pile.
I've been begging for vampire counts for ages, so we'll get there.
We'll get to him. But yeah, this is the plan. Gotrek, not a big fan of this at first, because you get a little bit of insight into his backstory. This isn't Gotrek's first time on an expedition to the Chaos Wastes, but they do eventually convince him, and yeah, they agree to go. And Felix, again, forced to go, bound by oath. There is a cool moment with Felix, though, that kind of, like I was saying a bit with Snor, shows like, hey, Gotrek does a little bit care about Felix, because when they go there, Boric is like, hey, that's a human, that's a manling. What's he doing here? And Gotrek's like, he's dwarf friend. He's allowed to be here, and they kind of accept this because the fact that if one dwarf says you're a good one, they kind of all go, yeah, he's probably knows what he's talking about. Even a Slayer, we can probably take him for his word.
I'm probably coming from Gotrek. That means a lot.
Yeah, he's like, you're fine. You're fine. Felix is allowed to be here for this. Before they can quite go, though, they need to get some artifacts and spells to keep themselves safe from chaos, because it's like going into the Eye of Terror. Like I said, not safe. You need protection. So they all get aboard the Spirit of Grumni. Felix keeps hitting his head on the ceiling because it's an airship designed for dwarfs. But aside from that, they get used to it. They get motion sickness, stuff like that. They do get used to it. Unfortunately, they have a stowaway named Lurk Snitchtongue. What a fun name. Thanquol had him stow away aboard the ship, and he made like a little sorceress mind link they have, which keeps causing problems for Lurk because Thanquol bothers him at every possible moment. And, Lurk needs to talk. Like I don't think he can't think through his brain. He needs to talk on an airship full of dwarfs who would kill him on sight. So throughout the book, every now and then, just keep in mind Lurk is rapidly wandering back and forth between spying on them for Thanquol, so they know what's going on, stuff like that, because Thanquol's following them through Lurk. Their first stop, though, on their airship trip is Middenheim, which is convenient. Gotrek and Felix were going there anyway, although not for any grand reason, really. It was just a place to go. They take on supplies, and our last two major recurring characters as well, who are going to stick with us for the rest of the series to some extent. Ulrika Magdova, a Kislevite noblewoman. She's there as an emissary for Kislev in the Empire. And Maximilian Schreiber, a wizard who's dedicated his life to fighting chaos. And he's the guy who's putting those wards and charms around the ship to keep it from dying the moment it enters the Chaos Wastes. Felix and Max and Ulrika are in a fun love triangle for a couple books, so that's another thing that I'll breeze over a bit, but that's just some nice background tension. They get into pissing matches over every now and then. They keep arguing about it. And it just keeps happening. Felix wins out in the end. Spoiler alert. But Max,
well, maybe not truly, but
okay. But that's for later. That's.
Is there any real winners when there's an end times? So
Felix wins out in the end, ignoring the end times, and also ignoring that thing that happens to Ulrika, which she's a vampire in Total War. You probably can guess what happens to her.
I've just Google searched and I'm like, those eyes don't look very healthy.
I used what I talked about, like in my video or in general, I would keep that one on the down low, and then Total War was like, hey, by the way, vampire lady, Ulrika Kislev. It's like, well, I can't kind of hide that one anymore. It's out there.
Yikes.
Yeah. But, in spite of this, they do him and Max get along well enough. He befriends Snorri and Malachi, and Makaisen actually shows he's also kind of a bit weird for a dwarf, as Slayers tend to be. Because most dwarfs, if a human asked, hey, how does this work? They would tell him to piss off and stop asking questions. Malachi, he's just like, hey, you want to see how to fly the airship? And he teaches Felix how to pilot the Spirit of Grumni.
I feel like he's just like that. Like when a kid will they'll draw like a picture and be like, "Hey, look, I made a thing." So just to feel appreciated, like I did this. Oh, that's nice. Don't understand it, but it's nice.
The other dwarfs, like on the bridge at first, are like, why is he here? But Malachi just doesn't care. He's like, yeah, I'll teach you how to fly the airship. Why not? You got nothing better to do. We're just kind of flying. So their next stop after that is Kislev, the mansion of, let's get the name, Ivan Petrovich Stragov, Ulrika's dad. He's one of those Kislevites. They live in the northern borders of the country, whose whole job is keep chaos from just kind of wandering into the major cities and ruining things. So he's like a nobleman, border patrol kind of guy. Keep chaos demons and marauders out of our land, please and thank you. And he very conveniently had a nice big tower near his mansion that the Spirit of Grumni could dock at. They stayed a few days. Snorri gets his much needed kegs of vodka. Because Kislev is Middle Eastern Europe, all jammed together, a whole lot of vodka to be had.
Dwarves probably very like Kislev then.
they enjoyed it, not as much as a proper dwarven ale, but they appreciate the kick, if nothing else.
It's a good attempt. Tom Warren for $2 says Mr. Stroganoff is my favorite character.
That. I have him as notes because I feel pressed too, but it's not of what it's Felix and Ulrika sleep together. It's thank you, Felix, for sleeping with every woman in sight.
Person who breathes.
You are a woman, and breathe. And quite frankly, with Ulrika later on,
sometimes he's just like, oh yeah, let's go.
Sometimes the breathing is optional once Ulrika becomes a vampire.
Okay, for a second that had me in the first half.
No, it's not quite like that.
Is it technically was someone like sleep with dead people? Is it technically that? Yeah, is it technically that?
I would say no, but I'm also I can't say I've ever slept with a vampire, so I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I feel like if they're undead, it's like a loophole, I would assume.
Yeah,
so they're still sentient. They have a personality. I
Just
didn't dig them up. It's fine.
Yeah. But with that, they oh my lord, pardon me, a complete mental reset. Max and Ulrika, Max is Ulrika was just in Middenheim on like a diplomatic trip. She goes back to the mansion with her father, and Max stays behind as well because for now his purpose was just to get the wards on the Spirit of Grumni so it could withstand the just lingering chaos corruption. And with that, they take off. They take off, and they're passing over just the chaos wastes, and there's like a passage where Felix is just looking out, and he's like, "Oh, that's a lot of chaos marauders. Oh, that's a lot of chaos. Oh, they're still going. Oh, this is one big horde of like 10,000 chaos marauders. That's horrifying." Like seeing the full extent of what chaos is up north away from the Empire proper. And at one point, they get into a warp storm, which forces the crew to halt so they can repair the ship. And meanwhile, good old Lurk, who's lurking, keys in the name. That's a very lovely art.
Thank you, Andy. For the audio, this is only Andy has drawn a very nice picture of Gotrek with his little.
It is lovely. They Lurk, who gets stuck on the outside of the airship, starts mutating, and he basically turns into a rat ogre that wasn't a science experiment, just mutation. And at one point, he will meet up with Thanquol, and there's some funny moments. For now, Lurk is having to hide, and it's going to be a lot harder. Because of what happens, the ship has to anchor over this ruined city, and Gotrek, Felix, and Snorri go to check the city out a bit, just to make sure there's no nearby issues. And then the airship is blown away in the storm, so they're stranded now. Not great. And as they delve deeper into the city to either look for a way out or just make sure they're still safe, there's no problems that'll come for them while they're there, they find this just insane hermit who teleports them deeper into the city, and they have to fight their way out past a whole bunch of demonettes and harpies. Not fun. Felix for a little bit, because the thing about demonettes, which you wouldn't guess looking at the models, but when a person just looks at them, they're like hypnotized by their beauty and like just the sounds, the smell they're putting off. And then
pheromones.
Pheromones. Of course, then Gotrek and Snorri put axe to face, and then Felix kind of snaps out of it real quick. They managed to fight their way outside, which then they're greeted by a massive army of beastmen. Which thankfully, at this moment, the spirit of Grumni returns, just starts firing into all the beastmen. They're like, get on the fucking ship! They drop the ladder. They do the Mission Impossible, grab the ladder rung, climb up. It's very harrowing in the moment. Well, maybe not that harrowing because it's like only 2/3 of the way through the book.
Sorry, someone said maybe Joey Diaz demonettes.
Don't say that.
That's a hell of a vision,
man.
Joe Rogan or something. Listen,
stop it.
I was going through the plains of demon. These cocksuckers are coming up to me, and I'm like, get out of here. I'm a demonette.
They seduced me with the 8-ball.
Good God. But with the airship prepared, ready to go, back at it, it finally arrives at Carrig Doom. Of course, they're floating above it, and they look down and they see 4 massive, like stretching to the horizon, chaos armies, one to each god, just fighting each other nonstop in front of the main entrance to Carrig Doom. And it's like Felix is asked, like I think he asked, like, why aren't they storming it? Why are they just out there fighting? And like the other dwarfs are like, well, the dark gods want their prize, but they want it to be their prize alone, pretty much. Like, they don't want to share. It's and it's just a way to, it's that and it's equal parts to earn glory, like, because chaos infights, right? This is especially for a beginner to Warhammer, a very good insight into chaos, where it's like, sure, there's a dwarf hold right there, but fighting the other 3 gods is a perfectly valid way to attain demon princehood as anything else.
If any one god looks like they're just eking out in front of the other ones, the other 3 immediately like get on them. So they like know. It's why like there's never like one like, oh, one's stronger than the others, because the other 3 will automatically just dog on him.
Yeah,
pretty much, or her, him or her, it.
Yeah,
oh god, it's confusing.
Yeah. They don't want to share, and again, chaos fights itself more than anything else. The great game.
Yeah, the great game.
But with that, they managed to find a safe-ish place to land. It's a secret entrance where they sneak into the city proper, Carrig Doom, and it's abandoned. And they keep fighting their way. It's constant fights against like beastmen war bands that are just ambushing them, slowly making their way through. Like, dwarves are like slowly but surely getting picked off. At one point, oh, pardon me, I skipped ahead a little bit. But at one point they find some survivors of Carrig Doom. They kind of find them, but same difference. Who they say they've been fighting a guerrilla war against the chaos in their city. Like, all this time they've been just fighting off chaos, like just room by room, ambush, stuff like that. Not doing very well, but they're surviving, which is sometimes enough. They meet the guy in charge of the party, Harrim, his name, or Hargrim, name not super important, just so you have the name. They decide not to kill, these dwarfs and this human that showed up. They decide you're not a chaos trick. You can be trusted. At what point, Hounds of Khorne start following them back. you know, problem. Gotrek murders a whole bunch of them at once, so all the dwarves kind of start looking at him with some reverence, because like they're chaos hounds of Khorne. They don't go down easy, and then Gotrek's all over the place and slaughters them like they're nothing. So they're like, oh, you're important. We don't have all the information yet, but you seem very important.
There's just something about you, something about that killing nature, surely.
Yeah. They learn, they go to, pardon me.
Sorry, I just can't start getting out of my head. It's the corn. Was it corn hounds? It's like corn hounds, but let's just put them in a blender. Everyone remembers that era of YouTube where people like batteries. Will it blend? Everyone remembers that. Gotrek is the blender with Brian Blessed's voice going. Oh!
He's blending the corn dogs.
Ah, God, that's good. It's good.
But Harrim takes him to the king of Carrick Doom, who's still alive, named Thangrim Firebeard. And we were talking about, another constant Chaos has in the two settings is time warping. 200 years had passed in the outside world since Carrick Doom fell. For these guys inside, it's been 6 months. And that shocks, Gotrek Felix, that crew. The dwarves inside are infinitely more shocked because, like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's been 200 years? It's been 6 months. I have a calendar right here. Or
more accurately, I've been drinking 1 cask of ale a day. That's 200 casks. That's this many days.
Yeah, it's like there's no way it's been 200 years. And some stuff kind of starts happening one after the other about Gotrek in particular. They learn from Mr. Firebeard that Gotrek's axe is that Runemaster axe, taken from the city just before it fell, and discovered by Gotrek in a cave after he got separated on that first expedition he went on. So, and that's not the last important thing to come about Gotrek's axe, but for this story, it also has a prophecy stating that when it returns to Carrick Doom, there's a creature that's just wreaking havoc on the people in the city, will die. The creature in question, we soon find out, is a bloodthirster. The book is named Demon Slayer for a reason. A bloodthirster has been picking them off at its leisure, basically, just for fun. And the bloodthirster had his own prophecy, which might sound weird for Khorne, except it's not really much of a prophecy. It's more of just a threat. He's like, I'm going to eat your heart to the King Firebeard.
Solid plan. And also, not being funny, for a Khorne 8 worshipper, like, that's a pretty reliable prophecy. It's like, yeah, easy, no problem.
It's like Goodfellas. This is literally the plot of Goodfellas. It's like, I like this kid. I like this kid. Eh? He lies to the police.
Khorne
He's
sitting on
honest.
his face like, you think I'm funny? You think I'm funny? What makes me funny?
Straight to the point. Straight to the point.
Did either of you see that? You guys ever watch like Death Battle?
Yeah.
Did you see the Homelander versus Omni-Man one?
I haven't. No. I mean, I've watched it on.
I've just been watching Mortal Kombat and
fair
DLC
enough
stuff.
I just because there was a line where Omni-Man's like, I'm going to make you eat your own heart. Sure enough. But for this, King Firebeard, some scouts report that hey, the bloodthirster's coming. He's that prophecy's about to come true one way or another, and with an army of beastmen, just for good measure. Everyone gets ready for the fight. Sure enough, the beastmen and the bloodthirster enter the throne room, while most of the cast is dealing with all the beastmen. Good old Firebeard, he's got King Thangrim, he's got the Hammer of Fate. He's going after the bloodthirster. He's not quite enough because a bloodthirster is a bloodthirster, and they're very good at violence. And sure enough, he rips out his heart and eats it as he's dying in front of him.
Yeah, like a big jelly baby.
Yeah, what you get? It not much of a prophecy, just a threat. But bright side, I'd say we're not quite at the bright side. We have a couple more people get the hell kicked out of him before we get to the bright side.
I've done one more drawing of Malachi. Would you like to see him?
I would very much like to see him. That is wonderful.
That is
He's
quite.
got little
that
legs
is
and little
art.
arms. There we go. I
It's
took a
quite
lot of
Rick
work
and
on the
Morty.
little
Yes.
goggles.
Donkey Man USA, Felix. It's also a hammer.
Thank you, brother.
It's you say that. Well, almost. The Bloodthirster. Snorri takes a hit with an axe. He's not killed, but he's pretty badly wounded, and he's out of the fight. Gotrek steps up to the Bloodthirster, and the Bloodthirster is winning. Gotrek's doing good. He's Gotrek, but the Bloodthirster's winning, and he's about to strike, Gotrek down and cut this book series about 15 books short. And this is, I like this moment a lot where Felix, like, he's trying to lift the hammer. It's like Mjolnir, but it's like, only a dwarf can wield it, and even only a worthy dwarf. And Felix he picks it up, and he's just trying to pick it up, and he's just praying to literally every god. He's like Sigmar, Grugni, Grimnir. I don't give a shit. Someone help me.
Corn, someone. I don't care. Any of them.
And but hey, that fervent batch of prayer was enough because he's able to wield it, and just throws it at the Bloodthirster and just beams it in the chest, which gave Gotrek just enough of an opening to get in and kill with his axe. Bloodthirster's banished, not before telling Gotrek he'll see him again later. Which, spoiler alert, for a very long time down the line, yes.
I just like the way he did a Scooby-Doo when like, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for your pesky Felix.
It's pretty much that more or less what happens. But with the Beastmen run, because the Bloodthirster's dead, they're out. And Felix, Varric, Snorri, and Gotrek, and whoever's left of Carrick Doom, led by that Hagrim fella, not super important. He's just the last leader these guys have. They board back the Spirit of Grungni and leave the Wastes. It's pretty bad losses, but they got the hammer back. They rescued a whole bunch of dwarfs from the Chaos Wastes, and it's just a cool little passage. Felix Prayer to throw the hammer is my favorite. It's so cool. Thank you for the 5,
Tom.
Warren. It's another cool moment after the fact. It's like the dwarfs are looking at him with like reverence almost, because they're like, most dwarfs can't do that, and this random human just picked it up and tossed it at a Bloodthirster.
Who do you think answered the prayer? Does it say?
It never it never says like which god, or even if maybe Felix was just him.
It's not a case of there's like is it Kegarak? Is there a similar like just trickster god who just went, this will be funny?
Zinch. Basically.
It would probably Zinch. There's a rough equivalent he has amongst the elves, Loic, but not really.
A donation by Haru the Rogue. He says, I want to mention that in Skaven Slayer, the Plague Priest used a reconsecrated Nurgle Cauldron to make the Plague, making them the only faction to sanctify a Chaos artifact for the Great Horned Rat.
They did. They technically cleansed it of Chaos corruption, only to make it Skaven corrupted, for all the fucking difference that makes to the average person.
Somewhat. I mean, somewhat.
Some. It's Clan Pestilence, though. I'm not touching that.
Cleaned it with, instead of human diarrhea, it's now animal diarrhea. So I don't know how much better it is.
We'll go through the short stories real quick, because one of them is like the last thing in the first omnibus, and the second one is a little Snorri story. The first one is just Gotrek, Felix, and Snorri. They're part of an Empire army led by Karl Franz himself against a whole ton of orcs. It's not super long. It's mostly just a fighting story. So, but the highlight of that is this will take like a minute. But the highlight of that is Felix at like the height of the battle does this insane like backflip acrobatics trick and just slaughters the orc war boss after it all. And then Karl Franz like comes down on his Pegasus, and Felix is panicking on the inside. Like, I started this whole thing by Gotrek murdering a bunch of his personal bodyguard. I'm about to be executed, aren't I? And Karl Franz just goes, "That was the bravest thing I've seen in my life." Then Felix goes, "Oh, it wasn't anything big," and then passes out. Like the adrenaline wore off. The book does a very mean thing because the next time we see it, Felix wakes up and Gotrek is burying Snorri, who had died when he killed 5 trolls and the 5th one landed on him. But for what it's worth, this was early in Gotrek and Felix before they were going to make as many more books as they did. Snorri comes back. Snorri's fine. This is
I have to say, like, there's no way they killed off
Snorri is they even reference this bit in like a later book with like some timeline crap, but that's for later. And they have like a oddly poignant talk about, like Gotrek is still grumbly. Felix like, we pushed back the orcs, we won the day, and it's like Gotrek just says, we won the day today, still got to do tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next orc horde, the next chaos invasion. And for a dwarf who never admits their empire is anything but everlasting, he's like, your empire is going to fall, the dwarfs are going to fall, it's just a matter of time, manling, which is a very oddly defeatist note. And then there's our other short Snorri. It's a lot of combat, but it's the first time we get a glimpse into Snorri's mind, and what it is depressing, because one of the first lines you read is, Snorri likes to drink because it lets Snorri forget.
Oh no!
I didn't know I was going to read that when I first read that book, and then I was sad.
Oh no!
It's just kind of like I need a wee. Should we halt for a second? No,
we can go again.
It's a nice look into Snorri's mindset because he's a bit more introspective than you'd think. Like there's it's with a group of humans and another Slayer, not just another random Slayer. And he's this Slayer's like, no, we gotta go fight now. I want to go fight now. There's enemies here. I need to meet my doom. And Snorri's just kind of thinking to himself, like, Snorri's seen this kind of Slayer before. Snorri thinks they shouldn't seek their death because it'll come when it's ready. Like for a Slayer, he's very chilled out, for lack of a better word.
It's like he's already dead in a weird way. So he's already the Slayer oath, you die the moment you take the oath, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's even basically a funeral for dwarfs, I think, once they take the Slayer oath. Like Snorri's like, oh, I know my death's gonna come. I'm in no rush to greet it. It'll greet me when it's ready. And that's kind of the theme of the book. That and being depressed because he'll say something like that. He has a line where like one of the other characters just makes fun of him for being an idiot, and Snorri just grabs his wrist and puts him in a fucking like death grip because Snorri's bigger than Gotrek.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he's not quite as strong, but that's because Gotrek has a magical axe feeding him. Snorri's just built like a truck. And he just says, only Snorri's friends can make fun of Snorri, and you aren't Snorri's friend.
Oh no, he's too precious, man.
I love him, and that's it's not super long story. It is very good, but again, it's a short story, and a lot of it is combat. So again, there's only so many ways I can go. And then Snorri killed the goblins. They were fighting goblins.
Is this still William King era?
Yeah, this is still William King era. I know the first 2 omnibuses were William King. I can't remember which the first one was, where Nathan Long took over.
I'm so sad that he retired from writing.
Yeah,
that guy made some kick-ass books.
That man knew how to write. I got to read the I think Tyrion Teclis books. I know he wrote those, if I remember correctly.
He didn't even write any end times, I think, as well. So
he got out, is what he did.
He got out before it went downhill.
Yeah. And then the next main book, the last one we'll talk about today, is Dragon Slayer. As you've probably noticed by now, the theming of these books is whatever Gotrek is killing today. Although, I'll give you all a slight spoiler: Gotrek doesn't kill this one.
I was going to say that's like a jump. Like I'm assuming, like most fantasy settings, dragons are like arguably the hardest thing to kill, or quite up there.
It's weird because like Demon Slayer is a higher rank of Slayer than Dragon Slayer, because like the point is you start as a troll slayer. Like you're a slayer. If you can't kill a troll, you're a troll slayer now. go fight a giant. That doesn't do you in. You go find a dragon slayer. Demon slayer is like the last step. It's just the thing that always gets me is like, a dragon is definitely stronger than just like a bloodletter.
Well, I was going to say they must be rarer, surely, because demons are invading all the bloody time.
That's
Surely.
part of it too. Although it's also it's like Warhammer writing. It's like, you know, when like the lore says like, right, battleships in 40K, right? No one has a battleship. Andy looks like he's
It was warm. I had to take the hood off, so now I thought I'll put on my my cap.
Ooh, that's a nice cap.
My favorite part of Warhammer fantasy lore is like before the end times, most of the time there aren't as many dragons because the dragons are all sleeping. The high elves can't get them to wake up.
It's only Kalidor Dragon Tamer, most arrogant bastard alive, can do it without killing himself.
Anglican Monkler says, didn't William King write some Space Wars books? Yeah, he wrote the actual good Space Wars books, the Ragnar Blackmane book, which to be fair, makes them kind of quite legit. It explains
like
away. What, sorry?
Is it Wolfblade and the original Space Wolf, or like the old ones that are quite? They have like the retro art style on the cover because they've only just recently put them on Audible, and I'm like, yeah,
might be. I just know, like, if anyone is a fan of fantasy stuff, like I've said it quite a few times, the first Space Wars book he wrote is essentially a fantasy book until the very like last like section. Essentially, it is literally a fantasy book. There's no guns, there's no nothing until the very end of it, and then it kind of ramps up. So if you do enjoy fantasy, you're going to get a nice transition in that novel series.
I just read through my notes on what's coming in this book. Oh, this is the funniest fucking moment in a whole lot of books.
Go for it, ready.
We'll get to that. Dragon Slayer. It starts a couple of days after Demon Slayer. Like they're on their way back to Ivan Strogov's mansion, and they pass over a massive army of Chaos Marauders. That thing from last book is kind of coming back, marching directly towards the Empire in Kislev. Like, we got to tell someone about this because that's a lot of Chaos Marauders. We don't have enough bombs on this airship to deal with that. Which they do that quite frequently. The Spirit of Grugni is armed to the teeth with cannons and whatnot. Not enough for that many Chaos Marauders. So they're on their way south. They reach Ivan Strogov's manor. Unfortunately, it has been captured by Clan Molderskaven, led by our buddy, our pal Thanquol. He's back. In exchange, he negotiated some support with Mulder because he's capturing the Spirit of Grugni. Lurk is still on there after all this time. He's getting that. He's getting that thing. He's taking revenge on the dwarf and the human.
Been flapping in the wind aggressively for an entire expedition.
No, he has. In fact, I don't think he actually gets back in the airship. I think he was just been holding on top of it this whole time.
Jesus.
Which he's ripped as hell now. He's basically a Skaven jumped up to a rat ogre with its intelligence. He's a Skaven. He's not that smart, but he's not a dumb rat ogre. But Thanquol, he's ready to capture them. And he's got Ivan, Ulrika, and Max Schreiber imprisoned after there was a battle. Of course, they went down fighting. They didn't kill him. He captured them because Clan Mulder loves their slaves. Unfortunately, Thanquol's ambush on the Spirit of Grugni doesn't go off because he's interrogating Ulrika, and while she's doing that, she kicks him in the balls, and his cry of pain is mistaken as the attack signal. So the Skaven rush the Spirit of Grugni well before it's docked. So wars, but no one's disembarked yet, except for Gotrek, Felix, and Snorri, who are all expert warriors. So they start fighting. The Spirit of Grugni just starts blasting into the crowd of rats. Gotrek, Felix, and Snorri are holding off the ones on the because they're still atop the mooring tower for the airship. They're holding off the rats, climbing up. Ulrika breaks free, rescues her father, all the other prisoners, Max.
Don't Pokemon USA for the $2 says, look, got the
Disgusting.
Scarsnick treatment done dirty.
It's I'm laughing.
It's so stupid.
Something even funny. Well, maybe not funnier, but funnier in context is coming up. Thankful rails a whole lot of warp stone and casts a spell to just hold down the spirit of Grugni. And for what it's worth, like this is one of those few moments. Like part of the reason Thankful is around is because when he's in the swing of things, frighteningly powerful wizard.
So he does a star killer, like in the game where he just grabs a star destroyer and just like holds it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And he gets like a magical arm wrestling match with Max over to control it. And just for some level of reference, Max is one of like 5 human wizards who can match up to like the elves, the Slan to some extent. And he's like, I don't know what rat this is, but oh my god,
this drugged up rat is doing something.
Yeah, and Felix it's not like breaking because he doesn't know it's Thankful. He's like, is this the same goddamn wizard from Null? Is this asshole still bothering us? Like he doesn't know it's Thankful. He's like, but this is the 3rd time I'm dealing with a Skaven wizard. Is this the same one? Which it is, but he just he doesn't know it's Thankful. He just knows
I like the idea that it's like, oh, he's this supremely powerful being. It's like, oh, it's this annoying guy. Like the disparity of like power level to, oh, he's a bit annoying, isn't he? Ugh, should leave me alone.
Yeah, it's luckily for both Max, everyone else. Thankful is slightly distracted. One, Lurk just jumps off the airship, which it's not flying, but it's moored in the sky. So he just leaps off, and Thankful has to grab him. And then some gyrocopters start just bombing the Skaven ranks. So he's got to focus on taking those down. So between that, Max, and all things going on, they're able to break Thankful's enchantment, and the airship is freed and can take off a little bit. The freed prisoners at this point all break out and rush the Skaven from the rear. You're not going to believe it. Bone Ripper 3 makes an appearance. Gotrek and Snorri kill Bone Ripper 3.
Oh my, already.
Taken from us too soon. And Thankful runs away to go order another Bone Ripper.
I honestly don't know why this guy was chosen by the Great Horned Rat.
Because the Horned Rat doesn't really care about winning. It's funny. Thankful is funny.
Yeah. Amusing rat.
He's the Horned Rat's silliest clown. Silliest Skaven.
I mean, what's that thing about rats in cages? I'm sure when you're like a god and you're still looking down, it's still just a massive cage. Like, yeah, this is funny. Put some cheese over there. See if they run into the wall.
How did the Bone Ripper get it? Was it like axe to the face or something?
It was
immediately.
Gotrek and Snorri double teamed it. It had no chance.
Oh man.
And oh man. Yeah, some measure of peace is restored. Felix and Ulrika reunite and blah blah. The love triangle is back. Great. I don't hate it all that much. It's not that obnoxious. Like they put it aside when there's no like Hunger Games moment where it's the middle of a battle, like, oh, Felix and Max and Snorri and fucking yeah.
So Max likes Ulrika as well, then.
Yes, and Ulrika prefers Felix, but stuff will develop with that a little bit over this book and the next one. But with some peace somewhat achieved again. There's survivors from the expedition. They're hailing. They make plans both to depart in face of the massive army, as well as to return the hammer of the Carrick Doom back to the dwarfs and the rest of the realm. And Ivan, he sends Ulrika, his daughter, and 2 of their bodyguards to warn the Ice Queen of Kislev about the invasion that's coming, because this was like before the end times, around Storm of Chaos time, when the big thing. It's like, next great invasion of chaos is coming. Archaon is getting ready to cook. Heads up. So that's kind of like what this is building up to. They don't obviously know Archaon, but they know chaos is on the move again. TJ Beast, who is the Biggie Cheese of Skaven society? Throt.
Like the Biggie
Probably
cheese from
Rock.
Ratatouille. The guy with like the chain.
I'm thinking of the Back to the Barnyard singing mouse thing.
They're like corn dogs, only smaller.
I did read. I did not watch I did read the Hunger Games though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw the first film. I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's okay.
They were young adult books. I read them when I was 13. That decent enough for a 13-year-old.
Uber Troll says Colin loves SOA. He should cosplay as Kirito.
Go away.
That is a diabolical like looking.
You want diabolical?
picture.
Hang on, Uber
Look
Trolls.
at the picture of look at the picture of his profile. That's diabolical.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Good Lord.
Get this degenerate anime stuff out of here. Shoo.
Thanks for watching.
Shoo.
Oh, Aria says End Times is mentioned. Day is now officially ruined.
I'm sorry.
Although you can go check out Colin's video about how if the End Times, weren't to happen. So I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I got to cook a little bit. That was fun.
Maybe they might implement it one day.
I can dream, but no way.
Pain.
I think they've said for the End Times is still explicitly canon. So, well, that sucks.
I haven't heard a single bit of news about this new setting in the Three Emperors time.
No, it's upsetting because it's selling well, and I've been to my local GW lately. They say every Saturday there's a bunch of people playing Old World. It's performing well. They just were what if we don't support it?
I just don't think GW are ready, or were ready, or even are ready. It's quite because again, it's as much as people. We are a little bit spoiled in terms of how much we get models out for our little war game, but in terms of an actual, I'm sure behind the scenes, so it's a mammoth task to actually get it out. And I do wish they had maybe now with particularly Space Marine 2 coming out, they've basically worked out a game can completely ignite a new level of interest. So they maybe learned the lesson. So if there's another Warhammer Fantasy game in the future, that's going to be really big. Hopefully they'll actually be we actually need to get the product ready way before it's before it's time in the sun, rather than it's closing time in the sun. Sunset.
Who knows?
Bunny Cop donated $2, by the way, saying reject Sword Art Online original, embrace the abridged Kirito.
I can
don't
live
know
with
what any of that means.
It's a bridge series I made for it.
Abridged Dragon Ball Z is still my friends. Shout out to my mates who literally will still cackle with laughter at the abridged Dragon Ball.
Good man.
Yeah, they genuinely used to watch that instead of actual Dragon Ball at some point.
All right, now I have problems with that one.
Some of it's some of it has not aged as well. Admit.
I mean, nothing's perfect.
Nah.
Where was I? Invasion, right? Warren Kislev lady. They also Max joins them as well because he's got to get back. He's got to get back to Middenheim. And while they're heading south, there's another Mr. President. There's been a second storm from the Chaos Wastes, and they're blown off course into the World's Edge Mountains, where they get hit with a bit of a 1-2. Where speaking of the Titanic, they scrape against the mountainside, and then they're attacked by a Chaos Dragon named Skjalander. Skjalandir. Skjalander?
Skjalander?
Skjalander, yes.
Skjalander?
Skjal.
I'm going to call him Skull. Skull.
Mr. Lander.
Greg, who owns Greg's.
Yeah. For those of you, if you remember from last time or just reading the books, you'll remember Felix's sword was what is it? It was a sacred artifact of an order of Imperial Knights. Which so it's a good quality sword. It's never dulled. It's got very faint enchantments, not super obvious. Nothing like Gotrek's axe. Caragul, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like Gotrek's axe, but it's a little magical. The magic seems to start and end with you never need to maintain it, which is pretty good enchantment. No work's got to be put in. It's always going to be sharp. And then the dragon goes by, and Felix gets hit with the Black Rage because, as it turns out, Caragul exists to slaughter dragons, and it completely overtakes Felix's mind for a second until all he can think of is kill dragon, kill dragon, kill dragon.
That reminds me of something. I don't know what it is though.
It lets him tank like a blast for like himself snoring Gotrek from a blast of the dragon's fire. In spite of all this, though, dragons can fly. Spoiler alert. It's a long sword. You know, Felix is a pretty tall guy. It's a big sword. He can't swing that high. And most of the weapons of like the Spirit of Grumni, because this is a magical, ancient, like huge chaos dragon, they can't hurt it until hey Andy, can you mind finishing a line for me?
Okay.
Commander, you don't have the firepower.
What's that from?
Halo Reach. Carter doesn't have the firepower, Andy. What has he got?
He got a pelican.
He's got the mass.
Oh, he's got the mass. That's the one.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I let you down with my Halo references.
All right. I thought you'd have me on it, but it's okay. But Varric, who he's about to kamikaze into this thing. He gets into a gyrocopter and just carves like just chunks of flesh into the skull's just flesh before he detonates the explosives he brought with him, which is a bit of a shame because Varric was like he was also like cheerful for a dwarf. Dwarfs generally aren't biggest fans of regular humans. Varric like seemed happy to talk to Felix, talk shop. He was kind of a sign that some of the stuff about dwarfs and like technological conservatism was maybe not as inbuilt into them as they like to put on, because he seemed perfectly happy to move stuff forward. And with that, he cartered. He crashed into the dragon.
Thank you, Tom Warren, for the $5. Says, I really wish there was a story where Gotrek and Felix went to Cathay now. Now there's actually lore to see how the sword affects things.
I didn't even think of that, because there were stories that like the most of that ever mentioned is Gotrek and Felix like briefly mentioned, and we went to Cathay, or like they were going to Cathay on a.
Well, they could. Someone could.
We had a layover.
Someone could absolutely write that story. That'd be very funny if they go to talk to like Zhao Ming, and then Felix's mind is filled with murder, and he just doesn't know why.
I need to attack that man, and I just feel like he's gonna immediately turn into like no wings, but like just a long sky snake.
I don't
just
get
being
it.
being like dignitaries, and Gotrek's like, "What's wrong with you, Felix?" And he's just like, "So what's wrong with you? I don't know." He looks a bit angry.
Beecham from Sweden also another 20 SEK says Skjalindir, or sorry, OCD is kicking in. Appreciate that, brother. Sorry, we are butchering your
Skjalindir. I will do my best.
The cultural
Skjalindir. Okay, Skjalindir. I can say that. But with this Skjalindir, he's not dead, but he is forced away because a gyrocopter full of bombs will hurt most things. But the airship is still badly damaged, and they're forced to go to Carrick Cadrin for repairs, the Slayer Keep. And the populace, all the dwarves, they celebrate that hammer's return. It's a very powerful sacred artifact. And hey, a whole bunch of dwarfs we thought lost forever came back too. That's great too. And, because it's the Slayer Keep, they planned a big old quest to go take down the dragon of a bunch of slayers. Love triangle moments, Felix and Ulrika are in rocky grounds because Ulrika's kind of a Kislevites noblewoman. She has, duties to her people, and Felix is following this short, murderous man around due to his oath. Yeah, they have differing obligations, as it were.
She's the mistress to the true marriage.
Yeah. And Max is there too. Max is, Ulrika likes Max a bit. I feel like I'm in high school saying this shit right now. He also likes Max.
So Felix likes so and so, but Gotrek gets jealous.
Can we say so? I think I know some spoilers for them, but I don't know if we can, because I think we mentioned it with AOS, like those two. Something about that.
We'll
Maybe
save
we'll
a
save
bit.
it. Yeah.
A bit. But for this book, we have 4 new Slayers to kind of take their place, because Ulrika, she's decides like she's going to go tell Tsarina Katerin, the Ice Queen of Kislev, about the Chaos Invasion on foot. She's going her separate way, and Felix, like I said, honor bound to accompany Gotrek on his quest. For a little bit they stick together, but eventually their path departs, and they join. But before, pardon me, I mixed.
Donkey Man USA says, "Never forget the Slayer with the luchador mask."
I'm not going to. Oh, I think that's not an. Oh,
was it?
Yeah. No, and pardon me. Never mind. We have these 4 new Slayers. So it's the 5. Not Malachi. He's with the Spirit of Grummy, but it's Gotrek, Felix, Max, Ulrika, and 4 new Slayers. Steg. His name is Steg. Not really much about him. He's a thief, like gold obsessed, and dwarves don't really do thievery. Like the idea of stealing from your fellow dwarf, not a fan, to the point that out of every Slayer there, they look at him like he's the most offensive.
It's called Steg. His name is word to pronounce. Steg.
We have Bjorny Bjornyson, very fun name, the same, who's he's ugly and he keeps flirting with anything that moves.
Or even Felix.
If I remember correctly, he might have made a joke about that.
I like that. He's just like, he's really ugly, but he's got spirit.
Yeah.
That's what we like to see.
Uli Ulison.
Oh, it says Beast from Sweden says Malachi comes with. He swore an oath to avenge Varek.
Oh yeah, pardon me. Thank you for covering.
Thank you for catching that. Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Woman. that's Bjorny, and then this one, the last dude, whose name is just Grim. Grimme. Yeah, he doesn't talk. He's very quiet. Uli, he's young. He's a bit of a coward on the inside, and he keeps boasting to make people think he's not a coward. Goes as well as you would think. And because of the dragon kind of coming here to roost, his awakening has stirred up a whole bunch of orcs in the region, led by a one-off Gotrek and Felix book character named Ugrek Manflayer, who has a cool name, but is a one-off Gotrek and Felix villain. I'm not even going to pretend to all of you that he's not going to die by the end of this book. But, we'll get to that. And pardon me. The group passes through a village named Gelt, no relation to Balthasar. They learn that there's a bandit leader named Heinrich Richter as well, who's been causing problems, and because he's recruited a whole bunch of men whose homes were burned down by the dragon.
Oh, so, not Heinrich. Not of all the people you suspect to be a bit of a bad one. Oh, not Heinrich.
Pardon me. It's Henrik. I misread the name.
Henrik. Slightly less evil.
Not much better.
They really do just pull the names out of like German filter hat, don't they?
War criminals.
Yeah.
Like Reinhard Heydrich. Like, I wonder if he's going to be a baddie.
Yeah. So the on the way to, find the dragon, they've got constant bandit attacks. They've got constant orc and goblin warband attacks. And it's just a massive struggle and pain. But thankfully, Malachi McKyson, he's the Slayer engineer. He's made some new banging weapons to take down the dragon. It's everyone's got some fancy weapons, and Max is a very powerful wizard who is, as it turns out, casting fireball or gold at fireball very handy. They eventually the orcs realize what is it? The group is after the dragon. So Ugrek says he's one of those few orcs that knows basic math and thinking skills. So he's like, we're gonna let them fight the dragon, and then we'll kick the hell out of them when they're done. And this is more of a build-up for next book, but it does happen. We're back to Thanquol and Lurk for just a brief moment, everyone. They're still walking across Kislev when they're captured by Chaos Warriors, who take them to the leader of their force named Arik Demonclaw, which is kind of a cool name, as well as his two advisors, the sorcerers Loigor Goldenrod and Kelmain Blackstaff. All three of those fellas, they're going to be showing up in Gotrek and Felix books later. Just so you know. Thanquol managed to negotiate an alliance through the power of dude, trust me, bro, basically. He basically promises that other Skaven will happily accept this alliance, Mr. Scary Demon Chaos Warlord Man, trust me. Which he does. He doesn't trust him. No one trusts the Skaven, but he's like, well, I'm going to kill you if you don't somehow come through with this, so...
Yeah, I've got a full hand of aces. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah, no problem.
Lurk is also the entire time kind of lording it over Thanquol a bit, because Lurk is now arguably Bone Ripper 4.
He's about to get it. That's the cursed name at this point.
So the whole time Thanquol's learning, I need to be a bit more careful around Lurk now, because he's big and scary.
My man was by his fingernail holding on to the edge of a steam-powered ship in the air for literally like weeks, just clawing it.
And with that, Thanquol gets that alliance going, and the Chaos Forces, they bring him and Lurk to help hit the Clan Molder stronghold, where they're imprisoned. And unfortunately, one, that's their end of the presence in Gotrek and Felix for the moment, but two, Thanquol's books start there. And while this is a bit of a segue, I feel it's worth noting the first time we see Thanquol's point of view in his book is he's having a dream PTSD flashback about Gotrek and Felix.
Love it.
And then starts blaming other people for his failure to kill them.
I still love the writing the letters, pretending it's from his rival in the siege of Nuln. God, that was
good.
It's just so fun. Like, it looks like it's written by a child. Oh man,
it's like one of my drawings.
I was gonna ask, what type of wizard, mage is Max Schreiber?
He's it bounced back and forth. Like he started off as I believe a beast wizard, but then he turned to a lore of light. Yeah. Although, and then there was like a brief side story where he used like a golden light, like scrying orb. So there's bits of metal, and then slight spoiler for the end times, he starts being able to cast multiple lores of magic, which humans are just flat out not able to do. So God only knows what lore of magic Max is actually.
Yeah, elves can do multiple lores of magic. The only reason humans do only one lore usually is because like humans are just not usually as good. So that's as much as like they could master really, but they could technically do more than multiple lores of magic.
I think it's equal parts. Max is just a fantastic wizard, and GW writers, someone intervened a bit and had things switched up a bit.
Yeah, and I guess everyone loves a savant in the underdog faction. Like, you're not supposed to, but you are. It's like, he's just a cool guy.
Oh, we got a donation by JP. Thank you, brother, for the $10. It's long-time listener, first-time watcher. When are we getting more Ynnari lore? That's what we've been saying for years, brother.
Yeah, you'll have to let me
know.
When
they write it.
Yeah, when... Go ahead, sorry.
Gold thank you, Beastman from Sweden, who is the secondary character in this Lorecrimes episode, the secondary speaker.
Thank you, brother.
He was a gold wizard, then under William King, then he was a light wizard, and then he starts using, I think, lore of like life or beasts in the end times. He's all over the place.
Donkey Man USA says Lurk is also getting juiced up by Zeech. Is this true?
A little bit, not a lot. but
Silly goose time. Loving it.
He's being a lurk. He's lurking. But for this, we cut back to the main group. They're going through villages destroyed by Scalendir. Ulrika admits she loves Felix. This is still happening. So she stays with the group to slay the dragon. They find this fella named Johann Gatz that Felix is immediately like, you're not right. There's something off about you. And then within about 5 pages, it turns out he's a spy for that Henrik fella. And he also suggests that the bandits shadow the group to the dragon's lair. So now the orcs and the bandits are following behind them to the dragon's lair. And this is when, kind of like last time, everything kicks off all at once because they reach the mountain where Scalendir is roosting in. What does a dragon do?
Aggressively.
Hoarding, because they always sit on a pile of treasure.
He does have a hoard, so that is fair.
Yeah, I'll say hoarding. That sounds fair.
Yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, just a last quick injection. So Cosmic Stealth Bomber, he's commented quite a lot before. He says, hey, at Pancreas No Work, how about we make some new Ynnari lore? Which I guess, if he's done a recent video on what had happened in the end times, maybe Colin might be the person to actually
at this point, I'll have to do it myself at this point.
I think Colin might be the only person who could possibly pitch. I think maybe like Major Kill did a video years ago about like how they could have fixed that Ynnari books, but no one else has really given the Eldar a proper,
I've got my Ahriman video coming out tomorrow. Near the end, it's just like, and then the Daughter of Shades dunked on Ahriman, was just like, hey, look, those Rubik Marines who've been dead for ages, and they were like, I'm alive, and then the avatar of it just kills them by dropping them into a pit. You're like, oh, that was fun. No. Why don't they get more moments like that? It's like,
Ahriman never gets a win. God,
the only time the Ynnari can win is when Ahriman is losing.
He never gets a win. I think it's his 5th book coming out recently, and apparently he's lost everything, including his warband. Like, god damn!
I read the earlier. I read like the not the synopsis, the background story, like just premise. There we go. And I was like, what do you mean Ahriman's lost everyone? Doesn't he have his own warband? What happened to it?
Yeah, I went through all 4 books in preparation to the video, and then the new one's not quite out yet, or it's just come out, and I was just like, he never learns. That's his arc is, I'm so clever, and does the stupidest stuff again and again.
Ahriman Horus Heresy lore is good. Ahriman, read the first 3 books. I said it to the guys, read the first 3 Ahriman books, and then after that, I feel like it could have stayed still for a while, if you know what I mean.
We could have left Ahriman alone for a bit.
Could have waited till like a codex bit of lore. Didn't need to have a whole novel where nothing changed.
And Typhus is doing his own thing. Lucius is dunking on the Exorcist chapter, and Khan is somewhere just going somewhere chopping someone's head off. And you're like, that's all they need to do. Whereas 5 books for Ahriman plus 2 short stories. That's a lot. Ooh.
So I like the first one. That was all right because it's low. It's like the Lion's recent book. It's just low stakes, if you know what I mean, until the very end. It's all good.
Low stakes. You need some low stakes stories every now that contrast.
Just a few Space Marines, just a handful. You don't need to have and then the entire chapter threw itself at a wall unheeded.
If all you have is everything's up to 11 all the time, it doesn't mean anything. Every now and then you got to have a little, come down book.
Yeah.
But for now, we're at the highlight of this one. We're almost through. They've reached the dragon's lair. Steg and Uli were too bitch-made to follow the rest into the lair at first, and then when they turned around, it turns out Ugric and all of his orcs were showing up here. So they were like, maybe we'll take our chances with the dragon. There's only one dragon. So how this fight goes is they start fighting. Steg is distracted, but he's the thief, remember? He's just distracted by the thieves, all the gold that the Scalendir's been hoarding. it falls on him and he dies.
Oh,
He's like the dwarf in Gold Lust. That happens.
was he just there like picking through it and going like, I can only carry so much. This is heavier than this. This is worth more than this. What's the date on this? That's worth more than that. What's the carrot of this? Oh,
like he was just going through the gold pile, rummaging, and then it fell on him.
Is Snorri back in Karak? Karak? Did he not join them?
Snorri's here.
Oh, he's with them as well. Yeah.
Snorri's being Snorri.
Snorri's being Snorri.
he's there.
Snorri is here providing morale, as Snorri's presence does without fault.
He's the mascot of the group.
If the mascot could kill a man, yes.
The mascot could rip a man in half with bare hands.
Yeah. And Grim is incinerated. Neat.
That's a doom.
I felt it was a mighty doom. A dragon burned him. Oli and Bjorny were the ones.
Bjornsson.
Bjornison, yeah. They survived this book and also were like the two ones kind of with the clear the author cares about these guys more. So I can't summon up much anything for Steg and Grim, the Slayer who doesn't talk and is grim. But while the party's all fighting, I mentioned Gotrek didn't get the kill. That's because for once Felix kills the big threat of the book. Caragul, the dragon slaying sword, it empowers Felix. He leaps into the air and just like jackhammers it down through the Scalenger's brain.
Damn.
He does Drax the Destroyer, and is it Guardians 2? He just goes like,
yeah. And which is good because Malachi's other plan for the dragon was a whole lot of explosives that probably no one was getting out of. They returned to the surface, and then remember how I said the orcs and bandits both followed the group? They're fighting each other now.
I figured, yeah.
They're just going at it. Gotrek screams out that the dragon is dead, and the bandits, I think they just kind of piss off, and then the orcs come just rushing in to finish them off. They're like, well, let's get that fight now. I realize I forgot to mention them. Ivan sent 2 bodyguards with Ulrika. They died here. They really weren't important. Like they were resoundingly unimportant. And they're dead now. And Felix feels bad. Ulrika feels worse. None of the dwarfs seem to give a shit. Gotrek
died to the dragon or died to the orcs?
Died to the orcs.
So that's surviving the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon's fighting. The orcs got him, which has got to be unfortunate.
Damn.
Bjorny and Felix, they take some bad wounds, but Gotrek kills Ugrek, and the spirit of Grungni shows up. Just starts bombing what's left of the bandits and the orcs, blowing them away. Malachi and Uli, they had set up that blasting powder, those explosives, to take down the dragon if nothing else would, and they had to go down in one big blaze of glory. Those accidentally got set off, and all that treasure is buried under the rubble. But the book ends with, the dragon is killed, the orcs and bandits are routed. For once, Felix got a W. Not many of those, but hey, he did. That's pretty good.
I mean, today Gotrek still got there. He still gets the final say.
He did, but come on, Felix got a dragon. Come on.
Yeah, that's pretty. Is it the Chaos Dragon?
He was insufferable after that, chatting up all those ladies like, I don't want to brag, but I killed a dragon. Like, yeah, no big deal.
Max vibrating with anger.
Probably. He's just stewing like a fucking blonde asshole.
Dickhead, man. Dickhead, yeah. Like,
he's got that exact accent.
That would be Dragon Slayer. That's Dragon Slayer. The big old bad dragon's dead. A little bit less, big old narrative plot stuff compared to Demon Slayer. This was more of a, hey, what if Gotrek and Felix found a dragon and then killed it? But I don't know. It's again all the William King, Gotrek, and Felix books are very good. I know I just both out of how I tell these kind of stories and just format, I do gloss over a bit, but they're like the dialogue in all these books is pretty phenomenally well written. They're enjoyable. As much as I made fun of fucking Grimm and Steg, they're they're none of the characters like completely unnecessary. Maybe the two Keystlight guys were. I really do not care about them. They were.
Well, it would have been strange for a noble to not have guards.
Yeah, that's probably really the reason. It's like, oh, she's a Keystlight noblewoman. She's going to be going out on her own to go meet Tsarina. Let's give her some bodyguards. But they're good books.
Yeah. Is this one of the last ones he did for this series then, or did he keep doing some more, William King?
Someone said earlier he did 7 of the Gotrek and Felix books.
Yeah, because I think the first 2 omnibuses are all him, and if I remember correctly, like the third omnibus is when it has him and Nathan Long on the cover, and then
David Guillermo I can't remember how to say his last name. I think he took over some of the later ones because he also writes the Gotrek AOS stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
He does quite well with Gotrek in AOS, knowing that he doesn't obviously have Felix with him, but the guy kind of gets it right.
Nathan Long and David Geimer. I knew there was multiple people involved in that. You threw me for a loop, but yeah. I think at the very least the next 2 books are are William King, because Giant Slayer is in the first one in the third omnibus. That one's written by David or William King as well.
Yeah, but just I think William King didn't he didn't give up on the series or anything. Like, William King just retired, I think, from writing because he'd been quite an established author even before he wrote Gotrek and Felix.
Yeah.
But this is we're talking about he's been writing stuff. This is some of these things are early 2000s to I think some of his early stuff must have been even 90s maybe. But he's probably been one of the authors who's been around for a long time. And very rarely do authors stay in the sort of sphere of Warhammer forever. I mean, particularly guys who've written very good 40k books. The guy who is it Anthony Reynolds or Joshua Reynolds? I think Anthony Reynolds maybe. He wrote Fabius Bile trilogy, and people say that's some of the better stuff. But then he no longer writes Warhammer books. I think we are definitely at a point where the end of the Horus Heresy, particularly, a lot of these guys, they're like, I've kind of got all I needed to, as much as I could bring to the Warhammer setting. I kind of got it out, and I mean, other than Dan Abnett, who the dude is actually I could go forever, man. The dude,
yeah. I mean, I really like the James Swallow books, which is more Blood Angels, and he stopped writing in 2011, I think was his last one. And that was an omnibus sort of thing. So it's I don't think he does anything now. Well, maybe. No, he's done Sisters of Battle stuff in 2017. But even then, I know he writes Star Trek, he writes Warhammer, he writes all sorts of stuff. Maybe even Star Wars. He's like a mercenary. He goes all over the place. But it is nice to see when they have a baby and they just go, this is my thing, and they do it. Kind of like the Night Lords trilogy is a good example of this was who wrote the Night Lords trilogy? Yeah, ADB. That was this is my baby. And he wrote it. And everyone's like, this is really good. And it's never been continued, which is a bit of a shame.
Well, I don't know if they, that doesn't really need to be continued, I think, until, again, a model release wave. I think if the Night Lords were to get a character, it would be a Decimus.
Decimus, cool. Yeah. That's all it is. It's he left Decimus. You could have just left it. That was it, and then it was all self-contained. Nah, you got to leave us with one new character. Ugh.
Yeah, we're in a strange point where a lot of the well-known authors, particularly the guy Graham McNeil, who wrote all the Uriel Ventress books and literally hundreds of the everywhere and loads of Horus Heresy. He now is the head writer at Riot, the guys who make League of Legends. I think the one, the one Arcane.
Yeah.
That was a great reaction. He literally lurched to the side.
Hey, the League of Legends has good stuff because fucking League of Legends, and yet Arcane is just amazing.
Yeah,
It's
so
horrible.
yeah, like it makes you feel like jealous. But yeah, so there are a lot of them probably now there'll be a lot of like newer people, and hopefully we'll get more. I mean, like who's it? Sandy Mitchell who wrote
He's the guy who's king. Yeah.
like that guy will be like he's been around for ages, and he'll like happily keep making stuff. Hopefully, and hope maybe someone out there will one day reunite Gotrek and Felix.
I've just seen Angry Homunculus just said, yeah, Graham McNeil got laid off by Riot. Ugh.
Did he? What?
Really?
Wow. I mean, that maybe then he'll come back. Hell yeah.
And we're just there like, come back. Please, more books.
He can dude made some good stuff, you know what I mean? To be fair, he is the guy who made the Demonculaba, so say what you will about say what you will. No, like so many people got some cool stuff to I mean, particularly if you think about what's going to be released in Warhammer 40k and hopefully Warhammer Fantasy in the next few years, hopefully we'll see some. Usually they like to pair it with stories, so if there's ever a model release for Kislev, you never know. We may get some authors giving it a shot. Is any other bits? Is that any more lore for today, Colin? Was that
any other questions? That was about the end point for me, though.
No, it was a good serving. I particularly liked the kicked in the nuts.
I going through my notes, I was like, oh, I forgot about this when I wrote that down. Oh, this is beautiful.
There's also one more bit I want to finish on, which is particularly in like some books, even though like this is like the general lore of it, it's very hard to convey how good, like how well the characters come across in just their normal conversation, like particularly with Gotrek just being very like standoffish, and then like those little glimpses of moment where like he does show he's not like a true friend to someone, but like it's his version of it.
Yeah,
and we kind of live for that. And then Felix somewhat being a the Felix on the outside versus the Felix on the inside, a little bit more insecure and a bit more sort of unsure of himself. Whereas on the outside, people be like, oh, he's kind of like, somewhat of a brave warrior. And then on the inside, is like, oh my God, oh shit. Like he's just like, Stealthy 47 says, how many bone ripper? True.
I don't have a number for you. A lot.
Listen, we're gonna have a bone ripper tier list at one point, okay? So
there have I just looked it up because I never actually kept track. There have been 13 known bone rippers.
Truly, we should have a bone ripper tier list.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily just because it's called the bone ripper doesn't mean it's going to be doing the bone ripping. It's like, it could be an ironic name that it gets the bone ripped.
Oh God.
The truly cause of death of Bone Ripper 8 through 12 is unknown.
Oh, I guess.
Kidding me.
To be fair, we'll continue with the Gotrek and Felix ones because again we like doing these ones because they're fun. We probably will have to do a thankful episode at least some time in the future.
I'm reading his books now.
Yeah, so as much as like it heavily, maybe we're at a good spot for where like it ties in. So we might do a thankful first and then another Gotrek and Felix. But
just for perspective, Colin, how far are we into Gotrek and Felix now?
There's 6 omnibus. We've gotten to the first one of Omnibus 2.
Right. So a while.
I was thinking like maybe we can like before Thankful, like definitely finish off Beast Slayer and Vampire Slayer because that's the end of Omnibus 2. Mm-hmm. And then after that we can be like, I'll hopefully have read Thankful by then.
DJB's Colin can read.
I can. It's a shock, I know.
Yeah. Yes. I think other than that, though, I think hopefully everyone enjoyed. If you listened to it this far along, again, I should have said it earlier. Please do like. We should always say it way earlier. I forget. Next week, I think we're doing another pub quiz, aren't we? Is it next week's pub quiz? So we've got some. We'll have something cheeky for that lined up. Again, the question of the week was Buddy Cop. Let us know. Funny answers, please. We love it. And other than that, anything else, boys?
One final fun fact for you. Bone Ripper, Thankful 8, Bone Ripper 6. It was blown up by someone else, and then he ate it.
Oh. Well, it's a bad situation. Snack. Fair enough.
God.
Don't want it to go to waste.
You know what? There's your other homework for the week. Come up with some for the question of the week and pour one out for bone rippers.
One out just for Snorri, just because his existence.
The keg of vodka.
Yeah.
That being said, though, thank you everyone who was listening, for watching. Again, if you want us to offline, we're also on Spotify, Amazon Music, all that kind of good stuff.
Yep.
And we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Appreciate you all. Love you all.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thankful
Yeah.
to be alive.